So most dating online gurus will tell you that when you first start dating a woman, you want to try to keep it to at least one date per week. You don't want to do a whole lot in the beginning because you don't want her to experience burnout with you and it result in her not having attraction to you anymore, right? But what happens when a woman, for one, is actually requesting more of your time, and two, you're trying to set up a date, but she has something else going on in the near future, but is actually available to see you earlier in the week? Well, I had a message from a guy that was asking that question, and I thought it was important to go over because, I don't want you guys to think that you got to be locked in to the once a week rule. Ideally, here's what's gonna happen, right? Is that when you're dating a woman, you're gonna be asking her out once a week. The reason you do that in part is because we wanna see if her level of interest is growing in you. And one of the ways you're able to tell that at some point is when she starts asking for more of your time. So for example, if you ask her out, say like on a Tuesday, and the next week you ask her out on a Wednesday, assuming she's had a good time on both of those dates, we want her to come to you and say, hey, so, I know we probably have a date planned for next week, but I was thinking we can meet up on like Thursday or meet up on Sunday and do something, We want that to be incoming. And if you're not forcing the agenda to her of having to see you more than once a week, then you're gonna find that women of their own accord will actually come to you and start doing that. So this guy had an interesting question, and he said, I recently had a date with a girl on a Monday. If she requests another date the same night, like after the date, via text, do I have to follow the one date a week rule, or can I plan something for later in the week? We originally planned to have a date next Tuesday until she remembered that she had plans with family. And so she's thinking about possibly wanting to see me earlier. I also agree that waiting a whole week for another date may be too long to go for no communication. So like I said, other thing too, I tell you guys to kind of like keep your texting limited to just asking her on dates, because again, as she starts to like you more, in between the days where you're waiting to contact her for another date, assuming she has higher interest, she's gonna reach out to you either just to do some BS talking like, hey, hi, how you doing? Or she's gonna try to request more of your time. So ultimately, we want women coming to you to have incoming offers and incoming texts, because in effect, that is a woman's way of chasing you. And if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. So with this guy's situation, what happens when, like for this guy, he went out with her on a Monday, right? And so later that night, they're texting and they agree to meet up for the next Tuesday. And then she realizes, oh, wait, family, I can't do that Tuesday. And so she's indicating that she could potentially be available earlier before then. So for example, if this guy went out with her on a Monday, she might be thinking, well, how about if we meet up on Thursday? Now, how do you as a guy handle that? Because on the one hand, let's face it, if she's attractive and you had a good conversation with her, you are probably dying to see her, right? But a few things. One, there's the potential of overkill. You don't want that to happen. Luckily, in this case, it's her choice to want to try to see you again, so it makes it a lot better than if it was the other way around. But also, let's be real, you as a guy have a budget. And if you already taking her out on that Monday, you were probably budgeting for taking her out once a week. And also, you may potentially be seeing other women besides her. So you may have budgeted like a day for her and a day for somebody else. You didn't have it in your budget to take her out more than once a week. This is where I have good news, guys. The majority of women that are like well-to-do and that, have a good head on their shoulders and are just looking to actually connect with a guy, they're not the ones that are necessarily looking for you to have every date be something that is overly expensive, or that every time they see you, it's gotta be a restaurant that's 5-star, it's gotta be some kind of really luscious activity. Like, that's not what's going on here. When a woman requests to see more of you in a week, most women know that chances are you have a budget and that you probably already spent a lot of money on the previous date that you got taken on. And so in the beginning, since you're only planning one date a week, they typically know. I just know this from my experience and from talking to women that you're probably not trying to spend more money on them if they see you a second time in a week. So what does a woman's request mean when she's requesting to see you more than once a week? Well, for one, it indicates that she has a growing interest. And number two, I have found most women assume that if they're saying, hey, I want to see you again, either A, it's going to be an activity that they pay for, or more importantly, they're assuming that the activity that you're going to set up is going to be a low-key activity. Most likely, it's going to happen at either her place or it's going to happen at your place. And this is a great place to be, because a woman that asks for more of your time and then actually agrees to either you going to her place or her going to your place, it's indicative of a woman that trusts you enough to be able to be in a space with you by herself. And also, just being really, really real, it's also an indicator that she's probably ready to do some wild, freaky stuff with you. Now, not all the time, because sometimes a woman will just generally want to come over and get to know you and connect, but you as the guy are responsible for setting up opportunities where those kinds of freaky activities could potentially take place, because a woman's emotions can change from moment to moment. But if you set up the scenario where, hey, a hookup could happen, but it doesn't have to happen, and it's her choice on whether or not it happens or not, you're going to find that a lot more women than you think will be willing to come over to your place as that second time seeing you in that week and be down to do some stuff. Now, here's how you set this up, right? Very, very simple. So in this case, this guy takes her out. They have a great time. Later that night, she's texting him, I had a great time. Oh my God, it was so great. Hey, I'd love to see you again. When are you free? Him, potentially. Hey, well, why don't we do something? I don't know, I'm free like next Tuesday. Okay, that sounds great. Comes back a few hours later. Oh man, I just remembered I got family coming into town on Tuesday and I can't make Tuesday, but I'd be open to seeing you maybe earlier. I'm still free later this week if you have like a Thursday or Friday open. Now, assuming that's the conversation, again, she's leaving it up to you to decide what to do. And this is the nice thing, is that she's letting you lead. So this is where a lot of guys mess up, because they think that a woman wanting to see him again in a second week means you've got to now set up an expensive date. You don't do that. You just hit her back with some simple stuff. I'm telling you, the simpler you get, the better results you're going to have. So if it were me, I'd be like this. Okay, well, I think I may have some free time on Thursday. I was just gonna, be at home, and I was gonna catch something on Netflix, something on Peacock, and make some food. Why don't you come over and we can make dinner together? You get some salad stuff, I'll get some manly steak and some of the stuff, and we'll just cook in my kitchen and have a good time. And you leave it simple like that. You don't say, hey, maybe you want to come over. Like, you do stuff like that, they're not going to see that you're confident. And more importantly, they're not going to think that you actually have game. Like, as I've said before on this show, women respect men that have game. And so you being able to show that you know what you're doing, like, oh yeah, come on over to my place. You can watch something on Netflix. You can have food. You're thinking that that's making it too obvious. You want it to be passively obvious, because a woman that says yes to that is also saying yes to a whole bunch of other stuff, like potentially hooking up with you. So you say to her, hey, come on over, we'll make some dinner on Thursday, bring some salad stuff, I'll get a couple of steaks for us, and we'll just, chit-chat and have a good time. If she says yes to that, then that's what the date is. And you set it up, you get the food from the store, she comes over. Now at this point, this is where guys start to get a little not too sure of themselves, because now they're thinking, okay, she's over here, but it can't be this easy, right? Like, traditionally, and this is just code I had to learn the hard way, dinner in a movie means hookup. So she's coming over here, and I said the words dinner in a movie. Does this mean she wants to hook up? It can't be that easy. No way she'd wanna. I'm telling you guys, the majority of times that I've invited women over for dinner in a movie, they wanted to do way more than dinner in a movie. And the first time I learned this was by accident, because I invited a girl over for dinner in a movie and I didn't do anything, and she lost interest post-haste. So understand, women get horny too, and they need the hookup and the situation to be set up for them, because if they are the ones that set it up, they get called all kinds of names by society. So all this to say, when a woman says, hey, I know we just saw each other, but I'd like to see you again later this week, assume that it's okay to set up a home date, because realistically, you're not trying to pay every single time you got to see her unless it's once a week. So if it's more than once a week, then any other date outside of the one that you planned to take her out and do things with is going to be a home date. Assuming she says yes to it, you're good. She comes over, and at that point, you got to go through the pathway of doing the moves you need to do to go from cooking to watching a movie to making out to getting in the bedroom and doing freaky stuff. And there's a whole pathway that you can do that I'm happy to teach you about. You can go to HarryWilmington.com and check out my Get Girls Academy program. And you can also hit me up for one-on-one coaching where I can walk you through the ins and outs of how that's supposed to work. But suffice to say, guys, don't think that you got to take a woman out multiple times in a week. You're not the one that's going to be proposing that you see her more than once, but assuming she's coming to you and saying, hey, so it was great seeing you on a date, we should do something else. Assume that at that point, it's perfectly okay to say, hey, well, I didn't know if I was going to see you or not this week, but if you want to just come over here on Thursday, we can cook some dinner and do whatever. I find that is one of the most successful things you can do to get a woman to come over to your place. And of course, you make her comfortable, but it's an easy way to go from doing that to doing a lot more stuff, if you catch my drift. So hopefully, guys, this helps you out. And if you have any questions you want me to answer on one of these shows, you can write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. Also, go to HarryWilmington.com to check out my ebooks, audiobooks, my one-on-one coaching calls are available there. And of course, you can sign up for the Get Girls Academy, which will give you a leg up in the dating game by giving you all the advice you'd ever need about how to meet, greet, attract, land, date, and keep women. So check that out at HarryWilmington.com. Be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.